Welcome to Game Over Edmonton. Following a decisive Edmonton Oilers victory, Avry Lewis-McDougall returns to Game Over Edmonton in just a matter of moments. But first, a word from our boss.
Game Over Edmonton is broadcasting from the Game Over Network channel for the playoffs, but come 2024 in October, we're relaunching with our own channel. So for all of your Edmonton Oilers news, analysis, and fun, make sure you open the Game Over Network channel from this video, scroll past my ugly mug, and head on down to the Game Over Edmonton channel from our featured channels area. Click subscribe and make sure you ring that reminder bell to make sure that you get notified whenever we post something or go live. Tell all your Oilers fan friends and family to come join our amazing community. You won't regret it. And on this video, smash that like button right into oblivion.
All right, I'm Peter, that's Avry, and this is Game Over Edmonton, following a Oilers win, and admittedly, Avry, I stopped counting at some point, so I'm pretty sure it was 6-1, but it might be more than that. First of all, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, Peter. Yourself, buddy? How are things?
Things are going well. Things are going well. It's been fun doing these with the Edmonton fans, but I think Edmonton folks will be happy to have an Edmonton folk on the show today. But this was a lot more of what I thought this was going to look like this series, and especially after game one. I know you and I were both in the Game Over chat, kind of like, you know what, this might be done in 3. Like, in game one, Edmonton was very convincing with what they did. And I thought that would carry over. Game 2, it didn't. But tonight, this was definitely much more what the Edmonton Oilers are looking for.
No, it totally was. And immediately you saw the power play going to work. You saw Edmonton's top line playing very well once again. Zach Hyman goes to the front of the net, where he operates best, finding ways to beat Cam Talbot. And when Edmonton's first line is clicking, it's a very hard team to stop. It's one of the best 5-man units in hockey. And it's a team in which, again, going back the past 2 years, we've known if you get down a man down to the Oilers, you will pay for it. We saw it last year. Edmonton's power play was operating at like 2,000% on a man advantage. And again, we see once again, the Kings get into penalty trouble, and Hyman, McDavid, Draisaitl make the Kings pay.
Yeah, they did. And they might have improved on 2,000% now, because they are just rolling and getting a series of 5-on-3s to be able to pad those stats a little bit, kind of like 1993 WWF squash match. That certainly does seem to help things out a little bit. But yeah, that power play, it's lethal. And it's so funny because you think of, at least for me, you're in this a bit more every day than I am, but like obviously we see the McDavid highlights. He's flying around and it's dipsy doodle or whatever. You don't think of him as just, I'm gonna jam this thing on goal and see what happens. And that goal tonight, where it's like, yeah, you know what, like if you're gonna cut off all the passes and stuff, let me just ram this thing in here and put it in. But McDavid is working, and you're right. Like game 2, I love Dylan Holloway. I think he's going to be great. It's awesome that he scored those goals. Sweet for Brett Kulak to come in and get a goal. But when the Oilers are going, it's McDavid, it's Draisaitl, it's Hyman. And it was those guys. It was the big guys stepping up in this game, and that was huge for the Oilers.
No, it's totally true. And you mentioned, Peter, how McDavid went to the net, got that greasy goal, beating Cam Talbot. And this is a guy in which, again, Cam Talbot's someone who McDavid knows very well from his time playing together in Edmonton. When the passing lanes were cut off, that's the thing about Connor McDavid. You take away the passing lane, you take away his traditional ways to set up other players, he just goes in net himself and get a goal himself, what makes him so dangerous than the best player in all of hockey.
Yeah, like you think you have all the different lanes blocked off, and oh right, he can also score goals the way everyone else does. I forgot about that. I thought another part of this game that really turned things for Edmonton, and after that last game, we were talking about different adjustments to make, and I said you don't want to overreact to anything, but the move to put Evander Kane on that second line with Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins, I was surprised by. And then I was surprised at how well it worked, because Evander Kane brought his A game to this one. And if he is going in that way, then I genuinely don't know how you stop this Oilers team. But I thought that added a real literal and figurative punch to that second line tonight.
No, you're very true. Evander Kane, he's the kind of guy in which All year long, it's been an interesting year, of course, with his chemistry in the second line, his sports hernia injury, which we learned about when the playoffs began. When he's on, full credit, when he's on, he's on. He's one of the most dangerous players on this team. We've seen before in the playoffs, that's when his game jumps up a level. So when Evander Kane is on, he's one of the best players. The thing is with Evander is staying consistent and being able to do that every single night. When he's able to, he's one of the best forwards, bar none, in this team, Peter.
Yeah, 100%. And that was like the goal that he sets up for Leon Draisaitl was a bit of like a light bulb moment for me. It's like I forgot when that was one of the best players in the world. I forgot that that dude could do those things. And so it was a reminder that, oh yeah, this isn't just like muck it up third or fourth line guy. Like this was a guy who was legitimately a top six forward on some decent teams and can actually do some damage. And again, like if they can get, I'm not going to say like 4 or 5 years ago version out of him, but if they can get something that is similar to that, it really does kind of lengthen things for this team a little bit more.
Yeah, no, it is definitely true. And right now, you see Edmonton, the days, of course, we saw last year and the year before the jokes about, of course, Edmonton being the one line team, one line merchant, McDavid merchant, Draisaitl merchants. When this team gets all their lines going, that's a really scary thought because you mentioned Peter game two, Dylan Holloway, he scores 2 goals. Brett Kulak gets work from the back end. Edmonton now has been showing over the past little bit they're not just a team relying. I mean, yes, they are still the key cogs like Hyman, Draisaitl, and David, but this team has shown that they can get scoring from beyond those 3 guys pretty often.
And that has been something that I know Zach and Dennis and you have talked about on the previous iteration of Game Over about getting some of that depth scoring. I thought the Henrique move was a really, really smart one. He hasn't necessarily shown up in a major time way in the playoffs, but he hasn't been a negative for this team either. And now you're right, you can roll 4 lines. Like there are teams that Dylan Holloway is not a fourth line center on. I would suggest there's one in the city that I live in where he wouldn't be a fourth line center on. But he, like, I love seeing what he has been able to do. And it all seems to be coming together for the Oilers in this series. And I think it is now allowing them to really play their style of play. Like, yes, they did score 4 goals in that game 2 loss to the LA Kings. But I think, I guess I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't think that was an Edmonton Oilers style of game. This was an Edmonton Oilers style of game where they're racing up and down the ice and it's flying and Draisaitl's getting breakaway chances again and he's firing slap shots from the faceoff dot just because he can, and that they're creating all of these things with the pace and the speed. The LA Kings want exactly 0% of that style of game, and I thought game 1 and game 3 Edmonton was able to do that. Game 2, not as much. And wouldn't you know it, Edmonton won game 1 and 3 and lost game 2. It's getting to get back to their style of play that I think was really important for them in this one.
It was a thing that Jimmy Heller mentioned after game 2, how it was important for his team to slow things down and make the pace what they want to play, because the Kings they've said before they can't play track meet hockey against the Oilers. They're going to lose every game 8-1 that way if they try and keep up in that manner. So Jimmy Heller mentioned after the game 2 win how he liked his team slowing things down, making it boring, to be able to contain those style of players. And right, Edmonton once again opened things up. They came out of the gate flying, and if Edmonton can find a way to once again keep that pace high powered again in game 4, it'll be a hard night for the Kings once again.
Totally. And I was thinking about it during this game. It's like, yeah, the Kings can't keep up with Edmonton. I was like, who can? You know, like if Edmonton is doing that, like racing up and down, there isn't like maybe Colorado on a good day can beat them. But like Vegas can't beat them at that. Vegas can beat them up into not doing it. But if it turns into that sort of a thing, there isn't another team in the league that can handle Edmonton that way.
No, you're entirely true. I mean, I know, yes, Dallas is a very scary team as well, too, but the Stars are down 0-2 to the Vegas Golden Knights. So if they go out, that's a major obstacle out of the way for Edmonton. But yeah, you're right. It's really only Colorado that has the ability to play track meet hockey and not get completely blown out.
Yeah. So no, this is exactly what Edmonton wants this to look like as the series goes along. And I think another thing that kind of surprised me, like the physicality of this game definitely ramped up, and especially during the end of the game where it just absolutely dragged on, which was what it was, I suppose. But
Right.
it's going to cost me a Duolingo streak. But aside from that, it's going to be fine. But I like the first part of this game. If you just muted the TV and like watch this game 4 months from now, you wouldn't know, I don't think, that this was a playoff game. The Oilers turned this into just a regular racing up and down. There wasn't a scrum after the whistle. There wasn't a bunch of big hits. It wasn't until this game started to get out of hand that the Kings started doing that. And that surprised me a little bit. I thought LA would try to kind of do what Boston did to Toronto in game 3 of their series, drag this into the mud, muck it up, and just make it gross, disgusting hockey, make it kind of LA Kings hockey, and they didn't
Right.
do it. Has anything about how LA has attacked this series surprised you?
Not really. I mean, we've seen the season series. It's pretty much similar to how they played against Edmonton in the regular season. They haven't really changed much up, which is probably a really bad thing, because how do you come into a playoff series doing the exact same thing you already did beforehand in regular season, and you lost the season series? We saw the Kings in regular season could stick with the 1-3-1, trying to slow it down. If I'm a coaching staff, even before they let go of Jim Hiller, Tom McClellan, I'm not sure why the Kings didn't adjust or back away from the 1-3-1 style, slowing things down. Because after a while, how the organization not say, okay, this isn't working, we can't keep proceeding as is in a playoff series against Edmonton for the third straight year?
Well, and like I have the Blue Jays hat on. It's kind of like when a pitcher goes through the batting order 3 times.
Mhm.
Eventually, though, like that curveball, I've seen it curve a couple of times. I know what I'm doing. If I throw the same defense at Connor McDavid, I'm going to assume that the best hockey player on God's green earth is probably going to figure it out at some point.
Yeah, exactly. It is so true. And I mean, I know last year we saw it took Edmonton a little bit longer because LA was getting great goaltending from from Corpusalo. But after a while, and we've seen this time and time again, Peter, when Edmonton plays LA in a playoff series, it's only a matter of time before Edmonton cracks the code of what LA is trying to do. And I think if LA once again falls in a series to Edmonton, possibly in less than 6 or 7 games, if I'm the Kings, how do things not change? Like, how do you not take a look at changing not just maybe a coaching staff, but possibly a little bit higher up with Rob Blake as GM?
Yeah, and like eventually finishing seventh and eighth and just doing this song and dance every single year, it gets a little bit tiresome. And then, like you said, where really are you going? So yeah, some real big questions I think could be answered or asked by the LA Kings in the next little bit. I do want to ask you about a couple other things, and I think there's one part of this game that's going to be really important for Edmonton
Hmm.
going forward. That's a tease, everyone. But first, let's hear about some more stuff coming up from Game Over in the next few months.
Game Over Ottawa is relaunching in October. So for all of your Ottawa Senators action, reaction, news, analysis, and fun, make sure that you click on the Game Over Network channel right now, open a new tab in this video, scroll past my ugly mug, and click on the Game Over Ottawa channel. Subscribe, and then hit that drop-down menu. Make sure you hit the alarm bell so that you get notified whenever we post a video or go live. Tell all your Sens fans, friends, and family to check out our awesome community, and make sure you smash the like button on this video right into oblivion.
All right, so while you guys were listening to that, Avery just had to listen to me cough for like 35 seconds. So I apologize to him for that. I promise you were the only one who got that. So a nice exclusive for Avery.
Oh, good.
But yeah, no, lucky you. But yeah, make sure everyone you like this video and go subscribe to our team specific channels that we'll be rolling out with in the fall. Also, give us your thoughts on this game. Get the chat bumping. We're going to have the presser coming up toward the end of this. But also, if there's something that we're talking about, well, you guys can join in on the conversation right now. I think another big part of this game for me, Avery, and it was an easy one to figure out because it was right at the beginning. The start for the Oilers was approximately a billion times better than it was in game 2. I'm not much of a math person, but that was way closer to what Edmonton was looking for from their players in game 3 as opposed to what we saw in game 2. Would you agree with that?
Oh, totally. It was similar to, again, how game one looked. Game two looked a little bit tentative. Passes weren't clicking as much. I mean, it got a great chance. It just couldn't beat Talbot in game two at certain times. But no, this looked like a much more coherent start in game three, what you needed. And Edmonton, again, this is a series in which Edmonton is going to have to find a way to get that first goal before LA tries to slow it down, make it a boring hockey game. So yeah, this is a much better start. And again, the first line is one of the most dangerous ones in all of hockey. So that line can get things going in game 4 and a potential, sorry, not potential, but yeah, a game 5 back at Edmonton. It should be a good thing for the Oilers going forward.
Well, and to your point, like that lead is so important, like you said, not only so that the Kings don't just kind of, to steal a term from another sport, dribble the air out of a basketball, but for the Oilers to really get going. And for LA, like I was thinking about it today, this game gave me a lot of time to think. There wasn't a lot of competitiveness in it. Who on LA genuinely terrifies you with the puck? You know, like when McKinnon is racing down, or McDavid or Draisaitl is racing in, and you're just, oh no, something bad is going to happen. On LA, like they obviously have players who can make plays, but the Kings have approximately one, and I think it's Kempe. And aside from that, like I think Fiala is good. Obviously, Kopitar is very skilled at the sport of hockey, and Drew Doughty inexplicably continues to score goals for this team. But for LA, like the guys who are really like every time he touches the puck, it's a problem. It's kind of Kempe, and I feel like that's it. And so to your point, if Edmonton can get out front and make this team try to chase you, I just don't think they have the horses to do it. Do you agree?
No, I agree with that. You know what? I'll add 2 more names to that. You mentioned Adrian Kempe. Yes, it seems like no matter whenever Edmonton plays LA, he's always there, especially in a playoff series. But 2 of the guys who I think are so dangerous against Edmonton are Quinton Byfield and Trevor Moore. Those are 2 of the guys who scare me as well as King players against Edmonton.
Yeah, Byfield, I love the development that he's had in his game, because he was looking a little busty for a little bit. But now he really seems like he has figured that out. And I like that. And yeah, more on that line with him, Deneau, and Arvidsson just seems miserable to play against. Like it's the South Park line. You're gonna have a bad time going up against that line. So I appreciated you bringing that one up. But specifically with Byfield, covering the Pacific Division the way that you have you noticed, like, is there anything specific in his game that you've noticed that has kind of jumped off the page as why this guy has improved, or is he just kind of hockeying better?
I would say just like watching him, like it's a mix of both. Like watching his skating has come in such a long way. The way he can get past the defender and use the fact that he is a bigger forward. He's about 6'3", and he's so skillful with his hands. He's not the most physical guy, but just seeing him be able to scale like the wind and go through a defender 1-on-2, 1-on-3, that's a terrifying thing, and that's a thing in which it reminds me of. I don't want to. I know some people might be on me for this. It reminds me in a way of a modern-ish version, like a light version of Eric Lindros, where it's a bigger forward, but he's just so he's so skilled and so quick on his feet for a guy that size. It impressed me a lot.
Yeah, no, that's a good comparison. And like, obviously, the second you bring up comparisons, everyone's going to freak out about anything. But the more you think about that, the more I kind of like it. And honestly, like, I don't think he gets to the levels of this guy, but there's a bit of the maybe more career arc, I guess. But for like Draisaitl, right? When he came into the league, he wasn't ready. I think we'll all remember, was it Dustin Byfuglien, who just like took his lunch money on a play in the corners. Like this guy, he was not ready for that. But now we see here, he is the one who knocks. And now with Quinton Byfield, like it's taken a bit of time, but he is now like just a grown ass dude, and he's making those plays, and he's understanding. And he had a play tonight. It obviously was not of any consequence at all because it was 6-1. But Byfield made a really strong play, basically just forcing Draisaitl out of the zone, and I'm pretty sure it ended up with a steal. But it's those types of things where it's like, man, you're figuring this out, aren't you?
Exactly. And the thing is that, like, I remember you mentioned Peter, he was a little bit busty. How the big thing for the Kings, a lot of teams wouldn't have the patience that the LA Kings had with the prospect drafted that high. The Kings said, no, you're going to go to the AHL. You're going to spend some more time down there in Ontario because we believe what you can become. And he's come in now and become a consistent NHL player. And a lot of teams might have said, he's a career minor leaguer, trade him. No, the Kings said, no, we think this kid's going to develop. He just needs more time in the AHL to figure out the professional game.
Yeah, 100%. And Travis in the chat agreeing said Kempe is one of those guys, 100%, and Byfield was moving up on the list. Yeah, I would agree with that. He's another one where it's like, oh, you're in this division for a while now, aren't you? That's just lovely. I think I kind of teased it coming into this segment. I think the sneaky big part of this, and I don't think it was a problem because so much of it was fluky, but I do think it's important tonight that Skinner had a good game. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like I don't think he played poorly. Most of the goals are going in off of skates, and Kempe with that deflection after it deflected. Like there's all these weird circumstances around the goals, but just the fact that the light didn't come on and Cartman's not yelling at you and Will Ferrell is not beaking you from the crowd, like that stuff. I just feel like for the psyche of Skinner, that had to at least be a little bit important that he was able to come out statistically and literally have a really strong game tonight.
No, of course. I'll add, like playing in LA, this is not knocking the fans. It seemed annoying. Like you mentioned there, the Cartman thing, the Will Ferrell stuff. It seemed like just a very annoying place to play for an opposing team. But you're right. Stuart Skinner is someone who I've been a big advocate for Stuart Skinner for a very long time, since he was a rookie, back in the weird COVID bubble year when the shortened season. But I really think that he's developing into a goaltender that can beat Edmonton for a long time. And yes, as a postseason goaltender, he's had his ups and downs. We saw again, game two, that wasn't his best effort. But a big thing about Stuart Skinner is that what I like about the guy doesn't get too down himself, and he finds ways to rebound after a bad game. Really, in the postseason, do you see Stuart Skinner have 2 or 3 straight bad games? He finds a way to rebound after one bad night, which is a big thing for a goaltender. I mean, yes, everybody's going to have a bad night. It's all about how you respond. And Skinner consistently finds ways to respond after a bad game in net.
Yeah, and like it seems like I've only been like super focused on this for these 3 games, obviously. But obviously, I watch you guys from afar. It's rather important to the team that I generally cover here for Game Over. And you guys are very frustrating about it. But it does seem like he has that sort of mentality that you need, and it feels like for so long Edmonton has been trying to check that box, and now, like you said, like this is the guy now going forward, it feels like, anyway.
No, it really does. And just for, I mean, for next year, and don't get me wrong, like this year, Callum Pickard has had a great run this year as the backup for Stuart Skinner. But I think long term, you're gonna want to find a guy who can take more of the starts with Stuart Skinner. I do think it's imperative to not get Skinner that's gonna be fatigued, because Stewart's not a guy who you can run for 70 games in a season. You need somebody else with him. So for the next GM of the Oilers, because it's not going to be Ken Holland. We know Ken Holland's leaving after this year. For the next GM, it's going to be imperative to find somebody who can take some of the workload off of Stewart, so he's not possibly playing 65, 70 games next year.
Right. Yeah, no, that is going to be key. And like I was gonna say you'd want that to be Jack Campbell. I don't know if you do, given the cap hits and all that. Like, you hope he figures it out so that he can give you something, and even if that is just you trade him off somewhere else. But we can save the bigger picture goalie conversations for the other day. But I do think he is so important to this, and I think this performance was really important for what Edmonton is trying to do. So now, after an appropriate counterpunch from the Edmonton Oilers, it's time to see if the Kings can punch back in Game 4. We'll look ahead to what is next for this series after I talk again, but with a different background. Game Over Calgary is relaunching in October. For all your Game Over Calgary content, make sure you subscribe to our Calgary-specific YouTube channel. Open the Game Over Network YouTube page in a new tab from this video, scroll past Andrew talking, and click on the Game Over Calgary channel in our featured channel section. Click subscribe and make sure you hit the drop-down menu to get notified when we post videos or go live. Tell all your Flames fan friends and family to check it out and join our awesome community. And make sure you smash the like button on this video right into oblivion. All right, I'm back with a different alternate jersey behind me now. And as we look ahead to Game 4 of this series, what do you think is, like, it's tough to say, okay, what do you adjust after winning 6-1? But what do you think is most important for this Oilers team to kind of keep in their minds going into this Game 4?
Honestly, really the big thing, I think, once again, is just finding a way to get shots on Cam Talbot early get in high danger areas, find a way to press on the Kings defense early and often, because you saw once again they found a way early again to crack Cam Talbot, getting pucks in deep, getting the guys to the front of the net. That's gonna be a really big thing, I think, for Game 4 on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of things that I've kind of noticed. The one thing I would say, and it is going to be, I would be doing this for 2 days. I would be the like cute little angel on the shoulder of Evander Kane, and just like, it's okay, everything's all right. You don't have to punch people. Everything's gonna be okay, because you can, I think, very clearly see that the LA Kings are trying to get under the skin of Evander Kane, and we saw
Yep.
how important he was to what they're doing in Game 1. And so I'm taking him out for lunch. I'm massages. I have calming music playing in the locker room. Like, forget whatever entrance music you want. I am playing the lo-fi chill stuff as the entrance music, so he just comes out there and feels happy as a bird, because I need him in that lineup, and I don't want what the Kings are what the Kings think will work to actually work.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. You could see the minute this game got out of hand, the minute the scoreboard was determined, you could see this game got really chippy, really feisty, and the game was kind of started flying. But yeah, you're right though. It's about keeping guys like Evander Kane level-headed and not giving in to LA, trying to make this a very chippy game late if the score once again gets out of hand.
Yeah, that's I'll give Kane credit that I do feel like if this was 2-1 in the third period, he's not going out and chucking bombs with guys. He's going to
No.
have a bit more level head about things. And he's going to, although it led to multiple 5-on-3s, so maybe that is the way to go. He's just crazy like a fox figuring that out. It is time for the presser here. If you guys want to get your thoughts in, Avery and I are running out of time on this Zoom, so I do want to get a couple of those going because your boy forgot to pay for Zoom. So get a couple of notes in the chat, but just quickly to shift gears a little bit. I know we're just focusing on this game, but big news in Canadian broadcasting with the passing of Bob Cole this week. I am kind of throwing this on you without letting you know I was going to, but you have been around the rinks for forever out there.
Mhm.
I would imagine there has been a run-in or two with Bob Cole. Any memories of the Hall of Fame broadcaster who passed away this week?
You know what? Pierre surprisingly, and surprisingly didn't meet him before. Never met him, which is
Oh,
surprising
okay.
enough. Would have loved to meet him. I never actually met Bob Cole before, but I do have memories of him as a broadcaster. One of the earliest ones, the Todd Marchand goal against the
Mm.
Dallas Stars '97. That's an iconic goal that I think a lot of Oilers fans remember quite well. His call in 2002 when Canada beat the U.S. in men's hockey. That was one of the great calls from his career. And there are so many calls, and that's the thing, like his career was so long that people who grew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s all have a memory of what Bob Cole did, no matter what team. And he called games literally with probably every team in the league, every current team, probably a lot of funk teams now. So it's cool to see a guy like that who is hung around so long, that generation of people can say, yeah, I have this Bob Cole game call in my mind from when I was 10 or 15 or whatever.
Yeah, like he's one of the rare people where you say, "Oh, he was the voice of a generation," is actually underselling him by like three, because it covers so many generations. And I was lucky enough to meet him once, and it was. I'm never like this type of a person, but it was the media room, the Ed Whalen Media Lounge, in the bowels of the dome here in Calgary, and there was one empty seat at his table while there was lunch going on, and I am outside of, like, as soon as the camera turns off, I'm the least social person ever, but I was like, you know what, I'm doing this, so I just went and sat down. I said like 3 words and was just like just staring at him, just like while he's eating his bok choy and chicken or whatever, just talking about like games at 8:15. All right, it's 8. But just like couldn't have been nicer, and like I'm an absolute nobody going up and just staring at him while he eats. But super nice to me, and like you said, iconic calls, and every market has one, right? And you would see that Toronto is posting them. The Oilers, like you said, Marchand with some amazing ones in there. The Flames have the "You did it, Lanny." Like every team had, like Detroit has like 55 because they were awesome during that
Right.
run. But every team has like an iconic Bob Cole call, and It's an amazing, amazing accomplishment, an amazing life lived by that man for sure. Back to our presser, we have Travis messaging in saying the Oilers can definitely handle it when the game gets chippy. I agree that the Oilers can handle it when it gets chippy, but that is what the Oilers can handle it when it gets chippy, but the Kings can't handle it when it gets fast. And so why go into their world when you can just live in your world and it's flowers and it's bunnies and it's 6-1 wins, you know? Like, just that's more my point.
No, exactly. Yeah, there's no need for the Oilers to get into it. I mean, yeah, you're right. They have guys who can handle it. We saw guys like Kane, Vincent Desharnais, even Dylan Holloway. Even Dylan Holloway is a guy who can handle himself in that aspect of the game. So, but yeah, right. Why get into that? Why risk it? Why need to get into that? Why play their game when you're up 6-1? There's no need for Edmonton to engage in that.
No, 100%. All right, that is going to do it. But before we go, prediction for the rest of the series? Can I get you on the record? 5, 6, 7?
On the record, if it keeps going this way, it absolutely is going to end in 5 games.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because I believe you are substantially smarter than me, so why wouldn't I? But also, that is kind of the feel that I get, that Edmonton has cracked the code, like you said, once again, and are going to roll with this one. Okay, that is it. Game over, Edmonton in the books following game 3. For game 4, it is going to be Charlie and Maud. And Avery, are you back on that one? I definitely should have asked that before the camera.
I believe I am. Yes, I'm pretty sure I am back for game 4. So
awesome. Looking forward to checking you guys out while that is going on. Thanks everyone for tuning in one more time. Like this video, subscribe to this channel and all the other Game Over local channels. Follow Avery, legitimately the hardest working man in sports media today. So follow all of his work over on social media, and we will talk to all of you after game 4. Good night, everybody.